everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we will learn what are some of the advanced options in AWS EC2. For this, click on instances. I'm going to launch an instance to elaborate you the advanced details. First, let's go to advanced detail. So these are the advanced details. Click on this. So the first option is domain joint directory. So what exactly is this? Imagine you are working in a company where all employees log in using a centralized system. Access is controlled from one place. Security policies are applied automatically. This is usually done using something called Active Directory. Now in AWS, when you enable domain joint directory in EC2, your instance automatically becomes part of the centralized system. So instead of creating users manually on every server, you connect your instance to a centralized directory. Let's say you launch a window EC2 instance. You want employee to log in using company credentials. Domain join will automatically connect your instance to the directory, allow domain users to log in, apply company security policies. So if you are working in an enterprise environment, you don't manage users manually on every server. You connect your EC2 to a directory service, so everything is centralized. So we use domain joint directory for that purpose. We can create this directory and then use it. So the next option is IAM instance profile. I'll make a dedicated video for this. So I'm just leaving this as of now. So next is host type. Host type, host name type, then this defines how your EC2 instance is identified inside the network. There are two common options. One is IP base name and the other is resource based name. Think of a host name as the internal name of your server. This is basically how your EC2 instance identifies inside a network. If you select IP base name, so it will make sure that instance is identified by its IP, and if we select resource based name, it will make sure that our instance is identified by its ID. So if you click on this, we can also read this. So these are the options. First is resource name and the other is IP. Now let's understand DNS settings. These settings defines how your EC2 instance is resolved using DNS. If you select IPv4 A record, this creates mapping like this. It will replace hyphens with dot. This is the default behavior and it is useful for internal communication. And if we select resource based IPv4 A record, this maps instance ID with an IP address. This is more stable and better for automation. And if we select resource based IPv4 A record, it is the same concept but eligible only for IPv6 addresses. So these are these settings. These settings control how your EC2 instance can be discovered and accessed inside your VPC using DNS names. Now let's talk about instance auto recovery. What does it do? If AWS detects a hardware failure, it automatically recovers your instance. This works only for physical hardware issues, not for OS crashes, application failures. If the physical server in AWS data center fails, AWS will move your instance to another healthy machine and restarts it. You don't need to manually fix infrastructure failures. AWS handles that for you. So whenever we want our server to be replaced automatically by AWS in case of hardware failures. So we will select this option. Now let's talk about Hibernate. What is Hibernate? Instead of stopping your instance normally, AWS saves the RAM state to the disk. And when you start it again, everything resumes exactly where it left off. It's like putting your laptop into hibernate mode. There are some benefits of this, which are faster startup, no need to restart applications, sessions maintained instant. And there are some limitations of this Hibernate behavior, which are supported instance types only, requires proper configuration. Now let's talk about shutdown behavior. This setting controls what happens when someone shut downs the instance from inside the operating system. There are two options. Number one is stop and second is terminate. So when we select stop, instance stops and can be restarted, and when we select terminate, instance is deleted permanently. If someone shuts down your server from OS inside the operating system, should it stop or completely deleted? That's what this setting controls. Now, let's talk about termination protection. Termination protection prevents your EC2 instance from being deleted accidentally. Someone, suppose if someone clicks terminate, AWS blocks the action. Even if someone tries to delete your production server, AWS won't allow it if termination protection is enabled. So let's enable this. Similar to termination protection, we have stop protection. This prevents your instance from being stopped accidentally. This is useful for critical system that should never be stopped even by mistake. So if we enable this, someone clicks stop, AWS denies the action. So the next option is detailed CloudWatch monitoring. In AWS, by default, EC2 send monitoring data to CloudWatch every 5 minutes. But if you enable detailed monitoring, as you can see, additional charges apply. Those metrics are sent every 1 minute. Why does it matter? For faster alerts, better visibility, more accurate monitoring. This is especially useful in production environments, so I'm going to disable this. There are some trade-off by enabling this option as well. These are you got more detailed data, but there is a small additional cost as you guys encountered. If you are running production workloads, detailed monitoring helps you detect issues much faster. Next, we have credit specification, which is used with burstable instances like T2 and T3. What does it do? It controls how CPU credits are used. So the options are standard, unlimited, select. Burstable instances earn CPU credit while idle. Use those credits during high usage. So the unlimited option allows CPU usage beyond available credits, but extra charges may apply. This is useful when your workload suddenly spikes and you don't want performance throttling. We use credit specification according to our need. Now let's talk about EBS optimized instance, and this is disabled. This setting provides a dedicated bandwidth between EC2 and EBS storage. What it does, it ensures consistent disk performance, separates storage traffic from network traffic, and this is important for better input-output performance, ideal for databases and storage-heavy apps. If your application is disk intensive, enabling EBS optimization gives you more stable performance. Next is instance bandwidth configuration. This controls how much network bandwidth your instance can use, but you can tune network throughput performance scaling. So its use cases are high performance applications, data heavy workloads. This helps you control how much network performance your instance can utilize. Now let's talk about something very important, cost optimization, which is pricing option. I'll make a dedicated video for this, but let's understand this now. So the first is on demand, which is default, which is pay per use, no long-term commitment. Second is spot instances. If I select this, its cost is very low, can be interrupted anytime. For example, it is great for batch processing, not suitable for critical application. If you want to save cost, spot instances are great, but they can be terminated anytime because we are using the spot instances. AWS is giving the instances which are free, but it is kind of like a bidding system. So yeah. Now capacity reservation. This ensures AWS always have a capacity available for your instance. It is needed for high demand environments, critical production workloads. This guarantees that AWS will always have space to run your application. Now, next is Tennessee. Tennessee defines where your instance runs physically. There are options such as shared, dedicated host. Shared means hardware is shared with other customers. Dedicated means hardware is reserved only for you. And the use cases for these are compliance requirements, software licensing constraints. This is important when you need isolation at the hardware level. And dedicated host launch this instance onto a dedicated host, and this is kind of expensive. Now let's look at a very advanced security feature, which is Nitro Enclave. What it does, it's create an isolated environment inside your EC2 instance used for sensitive data processing. For example, encryption operations, secure key management. It requires supported instances type reads at least 2 vCPUs. This is used for highly secure workloads where data isolation is critical. Now let's talk about license configurations. This helps manage software licenses when running EC2 instances. Its use cases are Windows servers, SQL servers, enterprise applications. This ensures you stay compliant with software licensing when running EC2 instances. Now, let's talk about CPU options. This allows you to customize CPU usage. So there are options which is default and specify number vCPUs. So some software charges per CPU. You can limit CPU usage to save money. This is useful when your application does not need full CPU power but licensing is expensive. Next is nested virtualization. This allows you to run virtual servers inside your EC2 instance. Example, running VM inside EC2, testing virtualization environments. It is not supported on all instance type. This is like running a virtual machine inside another virtual machines. Now let's talk about EC2 metadata version and metadata accessible. Metadata is information about your instance such as instance ID, IP address, IAM role details. This is used by applications script running inside the instance. Now let's talk about metadata version. So by default and latest version is V2 only, which is token required, and there were previous versions which were older like V1. So V2 only is more secure, protect against attacks, and metadata IPv6 endpoint. This is the option. This allows metadata access our IPv6 address. Now Let's talk about these options, which are RAM, disk, and ID, kernel ID. These are advanced and most legacy options used for custom kernel specialized environment. In most cases, you don't need to modify these. These are advanced configurations and usually not required for general use. So this is it for this video. We have learned advanced detail options except IAM instance profile and placement group. I'll make a dedicated video for these, and also I've illustrated what is user data theoretically and practically as well. So this is it for this video. I'll see you in the next one.